Well, we have made it to the final division predictions episode for this offseason. And it just so happens that this will also be the final episode of anything that I film at this desk. So, let's do it. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Grossi. And today, we are going to be taking a look at the final division being the AFC West and predicting the floors and ceilings for each of these teams. Now, as of late, past few years, the Chiefs have really run this division. However, the past season or so, and especially this offseason, it's been getting a little bit more competitive in the AFC West. Of course, the Chiefs did not win their third straight Super Bowl this past season, and so now they're heading into this season, and maybe there's some question marks. Do they still got it? Travis Kelce, Andy Reid's getting older, and ultimately, I think the question is yes, and they have the experience, and they are still the team to beat in the postseason when they get there, because let's be honest, they're gonna get there. And I do think the Chiefs will still be a problem. However, the rest of this division looks like things are on the up and up. But let's start off with the reigning, defending AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, last year, I predicted a floor of 10-7 and a 13-4 ceiling. They said, shut the hell up, Tom, you don't know what you're talking about, and went 15-2. And they had a pretty darn good year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Looking at their offense, they were right around the middle in points per game scored at 15th. They were the 22nd rushing offense and 14th in passing offense. So a little bit of pedestrian numbers for Patrick Mahomes and that offense, but ultimately, it did not matter because they still made it to the Super Bowl. Taking a look at the defense, oh boy, they were good. They were top 5 in points per game allowed at 4. They ranked as the 8th best run defense and 18th in passing defense. And so what they've been able to do on defense has been phenomenal because they really have been able to change their identity from an offensively based team, especially when they've been lacking wide receivers, whether it's due to injury or other reasons, and not having Patrick Mahomes do it all. The defense has helped significantly, and it's one of the reasons why they've been so successful, despite maybe those stats last year not being the absolute best. And during this offseason, they did lose a couple people like Justin Reid, but they brought in Fulton, they brought in Moore, and in the draft, they got Josh Simmons. One of the big reasons why they lost last year in the Super Bowl was because of that offensive line. And going and getting Simmons, who has had injury issues, but so far from camp, at least as of recording, they have been raving about him. I have a feeling he is going to be really good. And if they found their franchise left tackle, this is not going to be a long hiatus. And I don't even know if they've really been on a hiatus because they still made it to the frickin' Super Bowl, but that's how high expectations are in Kansas City. However, they do not have an easy road back to the Super Bowl here because their schedule, besides their divisional opponents, who I think are going to give them some problems this year, at home, they got to go against the defending champ Eagles. They got to go against the Ravens, the Lions, the Commanders, the Texans. All of these teams, I think, are going to be pretty damn good this year. Their away games, a little bit easier, but they will have to go up against the Bills and the Cowboys, and again, besides their division rivals. But besides those opponents, they have the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Titans on the road. It's not going to be the absolute worst. And so, with all that being said, I think there's a lot that could go wrong in terms of the home opponents that they're facing, because there's some really good quality here. So for the Chiefs' floor, I actually have it pretty darn low, and this is if everything goes wrong. I have them around a 9-8 record, and that's only because the quality of their opponents is really damn high when it comes to their home games. And I have a ceiling of around 12-5. So one less than I predicted last year. I still really don't doubt that the Chiefs are going to be in contention for the postseason. I still think they'll be in contention for the AFC West title. Maybe there will be a team that can finally step up and take it from them, but ultimately, it's still the Chiefs' world, and we're just living in it. Except for Eagles fans, you won, so. That's right, the Chiefs failed to get the three-peat and united 31 other fan bases. Well, maybe not the NFC East, because they pretty much hate the Eagles. Then somebody call Brandon Perna because you got the Denver Broncos.
Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
The Broncos exceeding some expectations last year. Bo Nix was not bad at all, and that defense was so damn good. And it's been very apparent what the Broncos have needed. They need a run game. They need somebody that they can rely on. They need a tight end. They got both those things. And heading into the season, optimism is at an all-time high for Denver right now.
Want to listen to some tunes?
I believe.
Last year, I predicted a 5-12 floor and a 9-8 ceiling. Like I said, they exceeded those expectations by one game and had a record of 10-7. And taking a look at what they did on offense, they were the 10th best team in points scored per game, 16th in rushing yards, and 20th in passing yards. Taking a look at that defense, oh boy, 3rd in points per game allowed, 3rd best run defense, and 19th best passing defense. They gave Patrick Surtain a whole lot of money this past offseason, rightfully earned. They brought in Evan Ingram to try and solve their tight end problem. They brought in Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, and on top of that, they drafted Jahdae Barron, so that secondary should be even better. And of course, bringing in RJ Harvey, they lost Javonte Williams, and hopefully Harvey can establish himself as the premier back. And taking a look at their schedule at home, they got to go against the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Packers, and of course their divisional opponents who I don't think are going to be a walk in the park this year. Their away games, they got the Eagles, the Texans, and the Commanders that I've circled about teams that are not within their division that I think are to give them a tough time. But right now for me, if Bo Nix can just be an above average quarterback and continue to ascend, because we saw some flashes, he was pretty good last year, and they're able to have a balanced run attack, the Broncos should be a damn good team, and that's not even factoring in their defense, because I'm expecting their defense to basically be a top 5 unit. And so with that in mind, I have them a floor of 7-10 if everything goes wrong, if their offense is not able to get into second gear, if Bo Nix has a sophomore slump, that'd be the worst case scenario. However, I have them having a ceiling the same as the Kansas City Chiefs at 12-5. I think that defense can be problematic for a ton of teams. Denver's a really difficult place to play. I've been talking about the Broncos every single time that they pop up in an away section for any team because it's a difficult place to play, and on top of that, a really good defense. That's a good combination for some winning football. We'll see if the Broncos can do just that. Following that, another very intriguing team. You got the LA Chargers. The Chargers, they're going through a bit of a renaissance. No longer are the days of Brandon Staley. Long live Harbaugh. The worm will turn. And last year, I had the Chargers floor at 7-10 and a ceiling of 9-8. However, they actually made the playoffs last year, finishing at 11-6. While they were able to make the postseason, it's very exciting. I think Chargers fans are even more excited for this upcoming season. It was obviously the right decision to draft Joe Alt. Their run game was better. And ultimately, if they're able to put this all together, this could be the season where you see the Chargers break out. Now, there have been past seasons where I've said the exact same thing and they've disappointed me. I'm hoping that's not the case this year. Take a look at their offseason. They added Mekhi Becton, Najee Harris, Dante Jackson, Mike Williams returned, and then Mike Williams retired. But the two guys I'm really excited for on that offense are Trey Harris and Omarion Hampton. You know that Jim Harbaugh wants to run the football, and if they are able to establish a punishing ground game, this is going to be a fun team to watch. Taking a look at their stats last year, 11th in points per game scored, 17th best rushing team, 19th best passing team, and over on the defensive side of things, they were the number 1 overall defense in points allowed per game, 14th run defense, and 7th pass defense. So overall, defense is looking pretty good. They're not allowing teams to score a whole bunch on them, and that is going to help within this division and also with their schedule, because their schedule, not only is their division tough, but they got the Commanders at home, they got the Steelers, they got the Eagles and the Texans. However, looking at their away games, the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Broncos really stand out for me, and of course, we'll see what the Raiders are going to do, but the Chargers, I think, have an approachable schedule, and while they definitely have some tough home opponents, ultimately, I think they're going to be pretty damn good this year. I have them with a floor of 9-8 and a ceiling of 11-6. I'm not ready to put them up at 12-5 just yet, just because I think their home stretch is a little bit more difficult. And unfortunately, after this video was recorded, Rashawn Slater suffered a season-ending injury. He tore his patella tendon in his knee, and this is honestly just such a shame. While he did just make $114 million with a brand new contract, and he got paid, and rightfully so, as he's one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, this is a significant loss for the Chargers. And while they've already gone out and signed a veteran to try and replace him, there just is no replacing Rashawn Slater. And so while my expectations for the Chargers have dipped a little bit because of this loss, I still feel if they're able to field a decent offensive line, they should have a successful season. But ultimately, the Chargers should be a contending team. I think they will be contending potentially for a divisional title. And who knows, maybe they can finally go win one of those playoff games that everybody talks about. And finally, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, they're having a bit of an offseason, huh? Bringing in Geno Smith, they got Raheem Mostert, they got Eric Stokes, you take care of him. They brought in Chin, they drafted Ashton Genty, who everybody's excited about. Oh, and of course, Geno frickin' Smith and actually getting themselves a quarterback. So there are a lot of exciting things that are going on for the Raiders right now. They finally got help for Max Crosby, and now he's gone after 5 games.
This sucks, man.
That didn't work out so well, and I'm recording this the last day of July, and this story is just strange, and every time I hear more about it, it's even stranger, so who the hell knows what it's going to look like in 2 weeks. But ultimately, for the Raiders, there is a lot of high expectations here of just even not a potential playoff berth, but winning ways returning to Las Vegas in this case. Pete Carroll taking over the helm there, who I think is a great decision to get this franchise back on track. And last year, they needed to get back on track. I anticipated their defense last year to be phenomenal. Top 5 potentially. That's why I had them at a 7-10 floor and a 9-8 ceiling. Their actual record, they went 4-13. So did not fail to meet those expectations. Psych! On offense, they were 29th in points scored per game. They were the worst rushing team in the NFL at 32, and they were 13th in passing offense. On the defensive side of things, disappointing in terms of points allowed per game. They were 26. However, they had a top 15 rushing defense at 13, and they were 15th in passing defense. And so while they've been trying to get Max Crosby help forever along that line, and while that didn't work out with Christian Wilkins, I still think that defense should be pretty solid, and that offense should definitely take a step forward. Not only with Geno Smith, but with Pete Carroll and now Ashton Genty, who I imagine they are going to run into the ground. And so, if they're able to have a balanced attack like some of the other teams on this list, like the Broncos and the Chargers, I think their compass is pointing in the right direction. Since they were the worst team within the division, their home schedule is not too bad besides their divisional opponents. They got the Bears, the Titans, the Jaguars. They do have to deal with the Cowboys, the Cleveland Browns, and the Giants. I think a lot of those games are winnable. Then their away games, they got the Commanders, who I circled. They got the Eagles and the Texans. It's a little bit more difficult, but they also got to play against the Patriots and the Colts, so they might have a little bit of a reprieve there. So ultimately, with the Raiders, it's going to depend on how functional that offense is going to be. I think Geno will do fine within that system. Being reunited with Pete Carroll will definitely help. And ultimately, if Ashton Genty is as advertised, I mean, they're not going to be the worst rushing team in the NFL anymore. So that will help. So while their defense, we might have to wait for some significant improvement, the offense should be able to do some of the heavy lifting. So because of that, I have a floor once again of 7-10. However, their ceiling is as high as 10-7. I think that their home games are not too bad. Their opponents and their schedule is not the absolute worst. And so if that offense is able to make those kind of strides, who knows? Maybe we're even talking about the Raiders as a potential wildcard team. And so if these predictions pan out, I have the Chiefs and the Broncos vying for that one spot with a ceiling of 12-5. The Chargers coming in next at 11-6, and the Raiders coming in at 10-7. I think it's very possible that all 4 teams could have a winning record this year. I mean, hell, 3 of them made the playoffs last season. And so the AFC West should be pretty darn crazy this season. Let's see how it plays out. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com. A big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And from the past 10 years from this desk, thank you so much for watching. Truly. Thank you. This is weird. I will see you. New chapter, new house. I hope you still watch. And yeah, this is the greatest thing. So thank you so much for being a part of it and supporting me. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.